right. Well, Kufar, Ekbar, everybody, welcome to another Sunday edition of the Cross and the Crescent discussion group. This is a YouTube live stream show every Sunday afternoon that is dedicated to rightly dividing the truth between Christianity and Islam. We're normally here for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on what the topic is and depending on how much participation we have going on here with the panel. And we start at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right. Thank you again, everybody, for coming. We have a pretty good show today. I've got a lot of material to cover, and it's mainly focused on this Palestinian and Israeli conflict. But before we get there, I want to wish everybody a happy Kami Day. Today is Cinco de Mayo. Whatever that's supposed to mean. And also, I want to throw a shout out and a great big thank you for our brother Adam Seeker. Adam Seeker had me on his live stream Monday. I thought he said, I'm going to give you a call about 6 and we'll discuss you coming on my show. And I'm like, okay. Well, the next thing you know, I'm on a show. I have no idea what the topic is or what it's going to be, but he let me go ahead and present the proof for the crucifixion of Christ. And in doing so, we had 50 people subscribe to the channel from his channel, which, you know, for somebody that has what we have 800, a little over 800 subscribers right now, that is a huge increase. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah, that's cool.
Before. Yeah, it was great to get.
They did that for Jay, for Jai and Daughter of Christ.
Right, yeah. Yeah, mm-hmm. But it's because their channel was taken down, but they got it back.
Yeah. They did. Wow.
Yeah. Now listen to this. This is the best part. They got it back, and their new channel has more subscribers than their old channel.
Yeah. Thank you, God Logic.
Yeah.
No way.
He was on. Yeah, they were on God Logic, David Wood's channel. They were on quite a few different streams, and clickety click click click. They were right back where they were. So, you know, they you get all these people that are trolls that try to pull your channels down and, you know, report you for whatever they possibly can or can think of. We have enough brothers and sisters out there in Christ to protect one another from those trolls. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the Israeli and Gazan conflict. And the reason why is because last week we had Nadir Ahmed on the show. And we're not, I'm going to just tell you right now, if you go into Adam's channel, you are not allowed to say that name. And one of the young people that they had come on the show, Ed, it was your friend. What's his name?
Michael.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, he came on.
And he was. What name are you supposed to say?
Nadir. You can't say Nadir Ahmed on Adam's show. I guess he's banned that name. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But he uttered it, and I kind of cringed. I'm like, okay, well, that's better you than me, brother. But anyway, when Nadir was on here last week, or before we had the debate last week on the crucifixion, which he provided no evidence. I want to make sure we understand that he provided zero evidence supporting the Quran. In 4:157, zero evidence. There is no evidence out there, and all of the evidence, all the overwhelming evidence, assures us that Christ was crucified, which is that blessed assurance that we have as Christians. But prior to the debate, we were going back and forth, having separate discussions on different topics, and he sent me a pamphlet. Let me show you this pamphlet. Let's see here. Let's go up here. There we go. Okay, so this pamphlet essentially says, "Don't be fooled." That's the title of the pamphlet, and it's 10 misconceptions about the Gazan war. And it's a trifold thing. Whoops, there we go. It's a trifold thing, and he has 9 different points on here, and that's what we're going to go over today. I've cut and pasted them and taken pictures of them and such. And we're going to discuss some of these things today. And one of the things that the reasons why I want to do this is because when we look at all these protests going on university campuses across our country today, these aren't just college kids doing these protests. These guys have outside help from and well, here's the article that I just pulled up. Let me see here. Stop screen share, present new one. Screen share right here. This article right here talks about how these students have been trained for months by agitators, professional agitators. And one of the things that he told me in our correspondence was that he assisted protesters in with protesting. He assisted the protesters supporting Palestine, quote unquote. So I just kind of tucked that away before the debate, but I have been reading this thing and thinking about it going through it with kind of a fine-tooth comb this past week. And it is chock full of, number one, lies. Number two, Joseph Goebells type language. I mean, if he was going to be a Nazi propagandist, he would probably get an award from the Nazis, because some of the words that he uses in here, and I'm going to point them out to you, are common buzzwords to get people angry. Words like genocide, concentration camp, colonize, all these words that are buzzwords that have no application whatsoever to what's really going on over there. He uses in this pamphlet. Again, this is the language in order to evoke a strong hatred towards the Jews, and this is exactly what he's doing. And he sent me a link to an article talking about I'd be careful about libeling me. And so I'm not here to say Nadir supports Hamas. I'm not here to say that he doesn't. However, but what I'm going to do is we're going to go through this, and then you make the decision. You get to make the decision of whether or not you think that the way that he words these things in his pamphlet encourages support for a designated terrorist organization from our country and the UN. But by the way, who was telling me that before the show, that the UN has designated Hamas as a terrorist organization? Was that Connie or Sharon? One of you two are telling me that. I wasn't aware that the UN.
No, not me. Maybe Sharon does.
No, that was Issa.
No. Oh yeah, it was Issa. I do remember.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, Issa. I didn't get you confused with the with them. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this thing up. Let's see here. I don't want to look at any of those articles right now. Let's go ahead and open this article up. As I said, what I did was I cut and pasted this Hamajama to a PowerPoint slide. You know how I like PowerPoints, because it kind of helps me, oops, wrong one, helps me organize things. And let's put this here, Windows, bam, boom, there we go. Okay, so he has 9 separate points that he throws out here. And what I want to do is I want to go through each one of these in detail. Now, if you want to come up and opine about it, or provide your input about it, please do. Okay, so number 1, Hamas carried out some of the most barbaric acts in human history. Now, that again, like I said, is provocative language. And I'm not sure if people have said that Hamas has carried out some of the most barbaric acts in human history. The fact is that what Hamas did to the Israelis were barbaric acts. But I mean, you have other people out there that have committed all kinds of atrocities against other human beings based on whatever you want to, whatever reasons that you can come up with. So this again is wording something to evoke some type of emotion. Then he goes on to say, false. American Indians carried out the same exact Hamas-like attacks. The Seminole and Comanche tribes murdered, raped, and kidnapped women and children, settlers who occupied their lands. Okay, so what he's doing here, he's saying, okay, look, the Indians did it to the American settlers, so it's really not that barbaric. And I have a response to that. I'm just let me bring that up here. Okay, so let me go to the next slide here. I asked the question, okay, does that make it right since some Indians 200 years ago did this? Does that make it okay? Does that make it permissible? And the question that needs to be asked is okay, Nadir, have you looked at a calendar within, say, the last 50 years? Because human beings, at one point in time, I get it. Human beings were really brutal, but we are living in what we would hope to consider ourselves living in a civilized world. And when you act like a savage, like a barbarian, and rape women and children as a means of warfare, and you you turn around and you burn people alive, you don't fit into any society anywhere. It doesn't matter if Indians did it 200 years ago, 500 years. I mean, what was it? Not the Mayans. What tribe was that to cut the hearts out? It was the Aztecs would cut the hearts out of people as a sacrifice to gods. Does that make it okay? I mean, would have been okay if they would have cut the hearts out of the Jews and shown it to Allah and said, "Oh, look what I've done here." This is a stupid argument. I can't believe that you would even argue. We don't have slavery today. We don't, women can vote today. We have indoor plumbing today, Nadir. It's not 1730. And I wonder.
Well, here's the thing, though. Didn't you say he was handing this out to Somali Native Americans in Florida? He was going to the res or something like that?
Handing out to protesters. He said that he was helping protesters.
Okay. I thought he was specifically targeting the Native people of Florida. But here's the thing. So he's equating Palestinians in the 21st century having the moral equivalence, okay, of Native Americans in the 16th and 17th century who were cannibals, who were pagans, who worshiped the earth and the mud and the sticks and the stones and whatever. Headhunters, they scalped and tortured people. So he's saying that the Palestinians are morally equivalent to these people living 300 years ago.
The Gazans. Yeah. I don't know if he's including people from the West Bank on that.
If this is true, then Israel is 100% perfectly justified to give them smallpox blankets. Okay? I mean, that's what he's saying, dude. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah, that's French and Indian War stuff, folks. Yep.
Yeah, but not only that, but think about this. He is not Native American. He's an American citizen. Cough, cough. Okay? So he is the colonizer that he hates and warns us about. So therefore, the Native American people in Florida where he lives, the small Indians, would be perfectly justified, according to him, since he is the colonizer, of going to his house, murdering him, okay, and his wife or wives, children, whatever, butchering them up, okay, they would be perfectly justified because he's the colonizer. He's living on stolen land. You know what I mean?
Well, that's, again, you're using evocative language, and I'm going to cover that in our next slide here.
Oh, just to let you know, we are not suggesting that Native Americans in Florida go and kill and murder and butcher Nadir or his family. We are just using that as an example to Nadir's irrational position. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that PSA. Okay, so let's go back to his pamphlet. He goes on to say, likewise, Israel is a colonial state which seeks to snatch away land from the indigenous Palestinians to create a Jewish state. The majority of Gazans are displaced Arabs removed from their native lands. Okay, let's just handle that last part first. The majority of Gazans are displaced Arabs removed from their native lands. That's not true.
That's a lie.
That's a lie. The overwhelming majority of the people living in Gaza are descendants. And this is what's different about the Gazanians and the people in the West Bank is they have a special UN status that enables them to live as refugees in perpetuity. Every other war that's ever occurred, neighboring nations have absorbed, including World War II, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, have absorbed those people who were exiled or displaced during the war. Period. The Gazans, for some unknown godly reason, are exempt from that because it's the Jews who are now living on their land. But notice the word that he uses right before that. It says is a colonial state. Okay, so let's go down here to what colonial, a colonizer. And a colonizer is a country that sends settlers to a place that established political control over it. Okay, so which country sent the Jews to Israel to settle there?
Well, just to let you know, he's using the woke language of the
whoa! No, he wouldn't do that. He would want to use correct verbiage here. He would say a country colonized Israel, so the Israelis are colonizers.
Right. So what the woke queer Marxists say when they say colonizer or colonization, they just mean capitalism or capitalist. It's the same. No, it's
so in other words, they want to make up new words or make up new meanings to words.
Exactly. And it wasn't a country; it was many countries.
Oh, we're getting to that, Ed. Trust me, Ed. We're getting to that, Hamajama, right there. You're exactly right. Yeah. Okay, so let me just go back to what I wrote. It's not a colonist state. England did not colonize. England was the one that ruled the country prior to. Or that region prior to the Israelis or Israel becoming a country. So this is a lie. It's inflammatory language, like I said here. And then again, I'm asking which Palestinians had their lands snatched away? Are they still alive, or are we just talking about their descendants here? Which ones are we talking about? And exactly how was this land snatched away from them? Nobody wants to talk about that. Go ahead.
I'm confused though. Can somebody show me a map of Palestine?
Oh, that's coming. Slow down. Okay. Slow down, big man. I'm getting to that. Okay, so him using the colonizer language is bogus smogus.
Wait, you guys want to hear something funny? This is really funny. I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it right now. But there's a meme on Twitter that I saw where it has this picture from the British Mandate when the land of Palestine was actually occupied by colonizers, the British colonial government. Okay, when they actually occupied it under United Nations, or was it, well, anyway, under British Mandate, and it's saying in 1924, Jews and Muslims and Christians and Jews, they lived peacefully together before Israel was created. So wait, so they're arguing against colonization, but they're saying under British colonization, they live peaceably, happy ever after. Do you see how stupid this is? So why are they arguing against colonization? You know what I mean?
It's kind of like akin to the Balkans. The Balkans lived peaceably under Soviet rule for all them years. And why is that? Is because the Soviet army would kill them if they decided to try to keep killing each other. So just as soon as the Soviet army left, what did? Well, they just started killing each other once again. They're the same thing as here.
But again, they're arguing against colonization, but they're saying they lived their best when they were living under colonization.
Right, and that's a lie. That's another lie. That's another lie because he said that there was a golden age, but we're going into what the golden age entailed, and that means that you get to be a dhimmi. But it's a golden age, don't you see? But you're a dhimmi. Yeah. Okay. Palestine is not mentioned in the Quran, but Israel is mentioned like 140 times in the Quran. Yeah, and one thing about that, Jerusalem is not mentioned once. in the Quran, which is really, really where, you're going to lay claim to Jerusalem, but it's not mentioned, not even once. Really? Yeah, that's what they do. Okay. Paul's here. Hey, Paul. All right. Okay. So let's see here. The majority of Gazan displaced Arabs. Okay. So the Jewish state, majority state. Now, let me just touch on this Jewish majority state shtick. The Jewish majority state shtick is a necessary element to the survival of the Jews in Israel. If the Jews ever became a minority in their own country, and they were and elections were held, then that means that you would have a majority of Muslims in the Knesset, which would mean that laws, bills, and all kinds of special little things would start happening to erode the civil rights of Jews. If you don't think, then you are simply not a student of history. This is exactly what would happen to the Jews if they ever lost a majority in their own country, if they became a minority in their country. And this is why there is such a big push under the guise of saying, well, they just want citizenship. They just want their full citizen. No, they want to have a majority. So just as soon as they become majority, they can vote out or vote through laws and legislation suppressing the rights of Jews, and eventually it'll be just like Nazi Germany all over. It'll take away their citizenship. It'll take away their civil rights, their liberties, and then their property. And then the next thing you know, you have gas chambers being built or whatever they would do. This is exactly what would happen. They would be exiled in their own land. No doubt in my mind. Okay. Let's see here. Very much like the fate. Okay. And then it's very much like the fate of the Native Americans. Okay, Nadir, if you are so stuck on this Native American shtick where you're thinking that, the Native Americans had their lands, unfairly confiscated, I think Rad had the best solution. You go ahead and start with that first show of benevolence by taking your home and donating it to the Seminole Indian tribe and moving your Botox back to wherever your ancestors came from. That would be a good first step. But my guess is that you're not willing to do that. And gee whiz, I wonder why. Rules for thee, but not for me. It sounds like, okay, Hamas did what anyone else would do in the same circumstances. Does anybody in here think that, let me put that up here. Hamas did what anybody else do in the same circumstances. History is replete with examples. Therefore, the October 7th Hamas attack is simply history repeating itself. So does this sound to you, I'm asking the question here, does this sound to you like Nadir is making an excuse to support Hamas?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking that, he doesn't think that people have the ability to, think 2 inches in front of their nose. I mean, this is, last week we saw that on full display. Okay.
I would say no. That would be my position, is no. Yeah. on that situation. Saying Hamas would do, first of all, Hamas assaulted women. Okay, that's like number one. That has to be engaged. They assaulted women. They did not do fair fighting tactics. They went in and did some kind of guerrilla warfare. They violated the treaty that they made with the ceasefire. I mean, there's not really much you can say that is correct in this space. Sorry.
Yeah, everything that you can think of that is evil, they did. And when you start trying to make an excuse, well, they're just acting, they just did what, everybody else did in 200-300 years ago. No, they didn't.
They attacked a peaceful concert too, a concert that was focused on peace. That's one of the places that was attacked.
Yeah, let's just call it what it is. This is Jew hate, period.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's what we find in the Quran and the Hadith and the Sirah is this Jew hatred. I have some slides that deal with that also. Okay, so let's.
Yeah, Eric.
Yep, go ahead, Connie.
And weren't those women or young adults college age?
Many of them were young
Okay.
adults. I don't know if they were all college age, but I know many of them were.
Mm-hmm.
They were
And look at the
you know,
flip-flop. Look at our colleges.
Yeah, how
They
easily
just don't
influenced they
get
are.
it right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a one of the videos of that attack at that concert that they were at, or whatever it was, that festival they were at. And there's this young man, he's running, you know, they're shooting everybody behind him, and he's running away, and he's wearing this, like, I don't know, what do you call it? Like a robe? Not maybe a robe, like
almost looked like Isa.
That's what I was thinking. I'm saying Isa is, and I think this is. Well, I'm not saying it was you, but I mean, this is something that I would think that you would go to. And I thought of you, not because the guy was running away.
I'm
but
a bit of a hippie. I think you're right. I would be going to that kind of place.
Yeah, this is something that you would do. Okay, so this is. I'm just going to go through whose land this is to begin with, because he keeps going back that this was land snatched away. It was stolen land. You know, when you use that type of language, what you're doing is you're exposing yourself as being a historical illiterate, is what you're doing. And there's something else in here that just, and I sent him a text, was it yesterday, last night, asking him about point 9. And if you guys want to read ahead, you go to point 9 on this thing. And his response just, it nailed him for being the historical illiterate that he is. And we'll talk about that when we get there. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the history of this land real quick. Hang on to your pants here. It's not gonna hurt. Okay, so when we look at the timeline of this of Israel, of course, we start with the Roman Empire rules until 324, and then you have the Byzantine era from 324 to 638, and then you go into the conquering of Jerusalem with the Caliph Omar enforcing the Pact of Umar upon the Jews and the Christians that lived there. And then you have the Crusaders responding, and that's supposed to be 1099, not 1009. That's supposed to be 1099. I'm sorry. Then you have the Crusaders ruling for almost 300 years. And then you have the Mamluk Empire rules there until 1517. And then you have the Ottoman Empire ruling that area until 1917. And then at the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire, because the Ottoman Empire chose the wrong side in World War I. The Ottoman Empire allied with Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, forming the Axis powers in World War I. They lost. And so when they lost, they also lost control of their land. And the victors in war started ruling over it. And this was the Jewish mandate, or the British mandate from 1917 to 1948. And then after the British mandate ended, the people in Israel, the Jews that lived in Israel at that time, declared their independence. Just as soon as they declared their independence, they were attacked by seven armies, 7 Arab armies, bent on throwing them out of the country and killing and massacring all of them. That was the intent of the Arab armies, was to kill the infant Jewish state before it could even be born. And they lost.
Wars, bad. They lost bad.
Yes. Wars have consequences. Just as World War I and the Ottoman Empire losing control of their land has consequences, the British mandate ending, and Israel is declaring its independence. Now, keep in mind, this independence, well, let's go ahead and just take a look real quick. Okay, so this was the Ottoman Empire in 1914. If you look how far this empire extends, this extends all the way down through the land called Palestine. But notice, there is no country called Palestine. There are no countries. I don't see a country called Syria. I don't see Lebanon. I don't see Iraq. And then you have the Persians, of course, that'd be Iran. I don't see Saudi Arabia. I don't see Yemen. You don't see any of these countries in the Ottoman Empire. So when the Ottoman Empire lost the war, the countries that won the war decided who got what. And so this is what the League of Nations came out with in 1920. Notice you have Syria being established. You had Iraq being established. And then you had this area right here. This right here, they were going to give all of this land right here to the Jews. This was supposed to go to the Jews. But every time that this was brought up to the Arabs, they said no, 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 no. They were talking about just giving a sliver right up here to the Jews. And they still said no, no, no. They were going to divide it into two separate spots. And they said no, no, no. So every time that there was a proposal to give the land to the Jews, the Arabs said no. So finally, prior to World War II, this is what the land looked like prior to World War II. Jordan has been established, and you have the majority of these countries in Arabia have been established, but this still has not been established prior to the war. Now, look at the one thing that I want to point out here is look at the population, the Jewish population. The Jewish population prior to the 20th century was growing steadily. It was small, this is true, but by the time you get to the 1920s, at the conclusion of World War I, it starts to increase rapidly. Now, when you look at the rapid increase in immigrants going to Israel, they were going to Israel and they were purchasing land from the Arabs. This needs to be understood here. Let me make sure, I want to make sure you understand this point. They were purchasing land from the Arabs at what we could probably consider confiscatory prices, but they were still doing it because they wanted to return to their homeland. And then at the conclusion of World War II, you have people realizing the horrors of the Holocaust. And also, I would also point out, notice the increase in Arab population as you have increase in Jewish population. So you have almost a very similar number of people immigrating from Arab lands to Jewish lands. In the period leading up to World War II and during World War II. And then you have them declaring their independence, and you have this sharp increase in Jews coming to Israel. Well, why is that? Well, thank you for asking. So let's take a look at why you have this increase in Jews right after Israel declared its independence. In 1948, when Israel declared its independence, you had about 946,000 Jews living in 10 major Arab countries. Follow this, folks. This is important. In 1958, it goes down to 540,000. You know where those Jews went? They went to Israel. They were exiled from these Muslim lands. You get to 1968, there's hardly any left. You get to 2017, that's how many Jews are left in the Middle East. They've been exiled from all of these lands, folks. They have been kicked out of these lands. And now you have people like Nadir saying that the Jews took away the Palestinians' land and they have to give it back.
Well, he needs to give his land back to the Seminole Indians because he's clearly the colonizer, the conqueror. Can I share my screen real quick? I just want to show, is Issa still here? I just want to show this. I'm going to screen. Hold on. Take a quick break real quick. Sorry. But yeah, where is it? Share screen? Sorry.
I don't know. Where is it?
I got it. Oh, I got too many of here. Oh, here we go. Can you guys see it?
Look, hold on. There, go. Yeah.
Okay. This is the guy we're talking about.
Yeah, this is the guy we're talking about. Yeah,
there's Issa right there. See that? That's you, Issa. You were there.
Okay. If that's Isa, dude, you need to work on your track skills because you're just that's a slow jog.
I'm sorry, I want to share that, but I'm gonna take this on the road, so I'm going mobile.
You're going mobile, Roger.
Going mobile.
Okay.
But yeah. So So Iraq expelled 50,000 Jews on as soon as they declared. Oh, he left. He wasn't even in the room, so he didn't.
Oh, he's here. Isa's here. Isa's here.
He just popped back in.
Yeah. No, that was Shakespeare. That wasn't Isa. Isa was here.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. So Iraq expelled 50,000 Jews. I mean, when Israel declared its independence, yeah, they all kicked out all their Jews and sent them to Israel because they were stupid. And
well,
then the Palestinians to run away.
Yeah. Well, the people that I stayed with when I was in Israel, we stayed with them for 3 nights, I think. Their parents were from Morocco. They were exiled from Morocco, and they lived. And folks, when these Jews were exiled from these countries, they had nothing. They lived in these kibbutzes. These kibbutzes were like communes. This is how they survived, by cooperating together. They lived out in the middle of nowhere, the desert, and they made it bloom. And they created all these industries, and they created all this wealth, and made the land worth something again. If you go to Israel today, and it's just crazy. If you travel to Israel today and you go from Israel into the Palestinian territory, the West Bank, so-called, the West Bank, it's like going back 60 years in time. I'm serious. It's like going back to time travel. I remember one thing that I can equate this to is when I was stationed in Italy. We went to Germany, and then we drove from Germany into Poland. Now, this is right after the unification of Germany. This is 1998, 99. So it's about 6, 7, 8 years after Germany was reunified. And there was this huge building project going on in the eastern part of Germany, where what the Soviet Union had controlled for all those years after World War II. And you drive into Poland, it was even more stark. It was like going back 50 years in time. The roads were terrible. The houses were old and dilapidated. It was literally like there was nothing new. This is the same thing going back, or going from Israel proper into the West Bank. It's like going back 50 years. There's nothing going on with what these people are doing to improve their lots and their lives there. Okay, so let's go back to my slideshow here. All right, so that shows you what happened so where did the Jews, they all went to Israel. So now what you're doing is you're saying, oh, well, they have to leave Israel, at least give up their homeland, or allow these people that were so-called Palestinians or their descendants to become citizens, so we can have them go into the Knesset and vote them out and take away their rights. Right, yeah, that sounds like a plan to me, idiots. Okay, point number 2, and we'll go through these next ones a lot faster, folks, I'm sorry. Human rights groups unanimously agree that Gaza is an open-air concentration camp. Look at the language there. Ooh, unanimously agree. And then he has a citation here in which Israel has imprisoned, another word there, imprisoned the indigenous population. Indigenous, they are not indigenous. Let me just make sure we understand that. To maintain a Jewish majority. Okay, so when you look at this human rights group, Human Rights Watch, they are Hamas supporters, folks. This is the one that he cited. These are Hamas supporters. They support the boycott, divest, and sanction movement, the BDS movement. So when he says that the agreement is unanimous, it is not unanimous. That's baloney. And then these people in Gaza are not imprisoned. Let's make sure we understand what's going on here with Gaza. These people were given complete autonomy over themselves in 2005. And in doing so, they elected a terrorist organization to rule over them. and the terrorist organization immediately starts attacking Jews. So Israel, in order to protect itself from these psychopaths, these Jew-hating, Islamically inspired psychopaths, they build a fence, they build a wall to protect themselves. They did it along the Gaza Strip, and they also did it in Jerusalem itself. There's this wall that separates the city in Jerusalem. It's a big iron wall. It's huge. Why? Because these people hate Jews so much that, and we've done several shows on this, showing how much they hate Jews, how deep their hatred runs, how they teach their kids before they can barely speak to talk like they want about killing Jews. I want to kill somebody with a knife. I want to run somebody over with a car. They're crazy. These are psychopaths teaching their kids to hate Jews. It's crazy. And Nadir wants to let these people in. You want to negotiate with these people? Are you're nuts? Okay. Let's see. Hamas has indeed acted in a barbaric way, reminiscent of Genghis Khan. Okay. Again, he's providing justification for their attacks. Let's see here. October 7th was a prison break. Like, yeah, they have them in prison. They don't have them in prison. That's again, this is another lie. They put a wall up to protect themselves because so many of these people are crazy that they want to come over and they want to kill Jews. Did not what anyone else would have done. Okay, would you have? Okay, let me just. This is nuts. How many people here? No, I'm not going to ask it. I mean, who would go out and burn another human being alive? What does he say? That anyone else would have done. Who would go out and burn another human being alive? Who would go out and rape a woman as a means of, as a, you know, rape a woman, period, but rape a woman as a means of warfare? Who would go out?
Around 432 or 30, I'm trying to remember, 35 maybe, something like that.
What does that say, Ed? I'm not familiar with that.
Something about taking women as slaves.
Oh yeah, which your right hand possesses. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. That's who would do it. Muhammad would do it. Very good. Who would machine gun families in their, this is no, Nadir. What anyone else, this is what he wrote, what anyone else would do. This is what he wrote. Hamas did what anyone else would have done. No, sir. Nobody, I know nobody on this panel anyway, would have done anything even close to this. And for them to call themselves soldiers, if soldiers do this from any civilized army, they go to jail, they go to prison. But these guys do it. What do you want? You want to give them an award, Nadir? Is that what you want to do? The goal is to break out of the Gaza prison and make the world know how grave the injustices done to them. Number one, they're not in prison. Number two, they built this wall to protect themselves.
The only ones I know that have done anything like that, like for example, the 20th century, were besides the Nazis, the communists and the jihadis.
Well, you look what the Russian army did to the German civilians once they got into Germany. I think the number is like 2/3 of all the women in Germany were raped by Russian soldiers from 1945 to, I think it's 1952 or something like that. It's just an ungodly amount.
So
it's Quran 425, by the way. I'm sorry.
Do you mind if I respond to that one? Do you mind if I respond to that sentence? Because I find it to be just really appalling. What he's trying to do is do an emotional manipulation where he's like, look, their attack is showing how bad Israel is. So they do a horrible, gruesome attack and then say, wow, look, there's a reprisal to this attack. Look how terrible the reprisal is. I'm like, it's illogical, it's irrational, and it's disingenuous. What Hamas did was a terrorist attack. They didn't fight fair. What they did is they came in, they did this horrible, gross injustice. They provoked a nation by an invasion, and you're playing this kind of game that there's some kind of rational, okay thing to it. There's nothing okay. It's wrong, and it needs to be condemned. And I think that that's the real problem. If he said, hey, I want to make solutions, I want to create a Palestinian attaché that will go and help, negotiate with Israel to make a two-state solution, I would say, hey, that makes sense. That's a logical geopolitical solution. But what the answer is I'm going to get angry, I'm going to get upset, and I want people to see how upset and pain I'm in. It's really manipulative to put videos and pictures of children dying from this situation. And I'm like, who is posting these pictures? It's probably Hamas that's getting these pictures, because what they're doing is it's a part of their scheme. They're trying to make people feel an emotional connection to what is going on, which is so egregious. It's an egregious situation. They did this egregious thing. Then there was a reprisal, and then they're trying to show the innocent civilians that got caught in the crossfire of this situation and say, look how bad Israel is, when they're the one that provoked this situation to begin with. And that's disgusting and grotesque to me.
We'll also look at, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We'll also look at, what did he say? Anyone in the same situation would do the same thing, right? So that means he would do that. He would go out and rape women. He would go out and burn children alive in ovens. He would do that.
That would be a good question for him.
Because he thinks that is perfectly justifiable thing to do. Not only that, but okay, this is a prison of their own making. They had an international airport before Hamas took over. Okay, but they didn't want that. They didn't want to govern. So these people did this to themselves. But why didn't they attack the Egyptian wall? Huh? Why only the Israeli wall? The Egyptians are keeping them in. They don't want the Palestinians to come into their country. They don't want to take them. They don't want any trade with them. They put up even, actually, when Trump gets elected back in office, he needs to hire the same construction company that built the Egyptian wall to put up our wall, because that thing is fierce. Okay? But no, seriously, think about this. So Nadir, you're telling me that you would rape women and murder children if you felt so justified? I mean,
what anyone else would do, what anyone else would have done. Hamas did what anyone else would have done.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Okay. So
from his neck of the woods.
Well, wait a minute. Remember, he says, "I don't support Hamas."
He's a liar.
He's sitting there making that pamphlet or whatever it is, justifying them. Right?
Yeah.
He's justifying it. Hey, it was a prison break. Well, a prison break, you don't go in somebody else's home and kill women and children and
well, what's scary is,
it's just a prison break. Okay, a prison break. If you're a prisoner, you go fly somewhere else to go find shelter, right? Well, why are you going to attack young adults there? That wasn't a prison break.
What are they doing in prison anyway?
Well, I would say it's one of their own making. And I think Rad, nailed it, hit the nail on the head when he said that, if you look at the Egyptian border, remember, Gaza has 3 borders: a northern border with Israel, an eastern border with Israel, and a southern border with Egypt. And then you have the Mediterranean. And they don't have any ports, or the ports that they have are highly patrolled and regulated. Why? Because they're always trying to get arms in there. They shut down the airport because they were running arms into the airport and had to shut that down. And then they started building. Oh my gosh, I'm not even going to get into it.
Man, it's the military state.
Yeah, well, this is what they turned it into. A terrorist base is what they turned it into. A base designed specifically to attack Jews.
And the leaders,
they're in their back door. I was thinking about that, the northern borders, the big walls that Israel had to build, is because from all of my early adulthood till now, or up to 2005, you would always hear, a Muslim going in there and blowing themselves up and blowing up 14 people in a bus every day almost.
Yeah.
So Israel finally said, look, we're going to build a wall. We're not going to just let you traipse in here anymore because we see your intentions. Thank you.
Well, even today, they still, if you look at what they did prior to October 7th, is they had people going into Israel under like a work permit, and they created all of these maps of where all these kibbutzes were and where the streets are and the homes are. And so Hamas was able to use this intelligence to plan their attacks. So even when you do allow them to come into your country and earn wages that are like 3-4 times higher than what they would earn in Gaza, they still plan to do this. This is the level of their hatred. Nobody wants to talk about the level of hatred that these people have for the Jews. And it's not just a hatred because, oh, you took away our land. That's not it. It's a level of hatred that deals a lot with their Islamic ideology. That's what drives this hatred. It's Sunnah. If you look at what Muhammad did look at the 3 Jewish tribes in Medina. The first one he exiles. The second one he exiles and takes all the property. And the Banu Qurayza, the last one, he kills them and then enslaves their women and children. Muhammad hated Jews, and Jew hatred is Sunnah for those who follow him.
Free Medina, free Medina, bring the Jews back.
They don't only hate the Jews.
Well, it's because Allah tells them to. 98:6. The Jews and the Christians are the worst of creatures. There you go. You can do whatever you want to the worst of creatures. You don't have to treat them with any dignity, respect at all. Okay, number three. But Hamas just wanted to kill Jews. Again, this is a stupid assertion, but okay, fine. Let's go with you. There is no evidence to support this repeated assertion. Rather, it has been debunked by solid research proving Hamas believes in peaceful existence with the Jew, but not the terrorist state of Israel. You are a liar. I would say, well, hold on a second. You are right. Hamas did not just want to kill Jews, because Hamas also wants to kill Americans. Hamas also wants to kill people from Fatah, their fellow Muslims. And they also want to kill, other Gazans for propaganda purposes, meaning that they want to have people from their own country die because it helps them win the PR war. The fact is that these people are supporting barbarism. What does he say here? You are being fooled into thinking that Hamas is some kind of neo-Nazi group. No, not really. Because if you think of the Hamas's initial charter in 1988, what does it say? We're going to destroy Israel. Well, when you destroy Israel, what is that? Who lives in Israel? A bunch of Buddhists? No, Jews. This is exactly what you want to do. You want to destroy and kill Jews. You're not fooling anybody with your silly little qualifications here. Okay, let's go to. Let me see here. Let me bring up some statistics here. Okay. Let's see here. In your view, was Hamas' decision to launch its offensive against Israel on 7 October a correct or incorrect one? In the Gaza Strip, 73% in March said yes. In December, only 57%. So it's gone up quite a bit. In the West Bank, 71% said it was the right thing to do. Back in December, it was up to 82%. So they're still saying that it was the correct decision to go into the Gaza Strip. The belief that Hamas fighters committed atrocities on October 7th is higher among who watched the video showing. Okay, so did Hamas commit atrocities? 81% who watched the videos said no. 97% of those people who did not watch the videos said no, they did not commit atrocities. Swallow that one, folks. The people in Gaza, even when they see the video, are saying, no, Hamas didn't commit any atrocities here. Either they're saying, well, the Jews are making this up, or they're saying that the Jews deserved it and it's not an atrocity. How can you get around these numbers? This is folks, this is crazy numbers. 80%, and you still saw the video and you're saying, oh, there's no atrocities here. And then the people who didn't watch it, 97%.
Yeah, it's total denial. How are they able to vote, though? I mean, and what year did when did they do this?
Do what?
This voting.
This is
did it have a date?
These are polls. These are not votes.
These are polls by who? Who are voting? Who are these stats from?
I have it. I didn't cite it. I have it.
I mean, is it worldwide?
No, these are people in the Gaza Strip. They polled people in the Gaza Strip. And the question
But they're voting on this.
No, they're not voting. They're just saying I either agree or I disagree. This is just a poll.
Well, I'm just okay. I'm saying the same thing. Poll. Okay. Well, when did they have time to take polls? Did they still have phones and all that fun stuff?
Well, I don't know what the people are doing. I suppose you go to Rafah, they're just kind of sitting around. I mean,
well, see, that's my question.
There's not a lot going on.
How are they doing polls?
You go and talk to anybody you want to.
Oh no, they got phones, they got internet.
Yeah. Come on, talk to me. That's what I'm asking.
They got phones, they got internet. Yeah, they got all the luxuries of life. They got food. Unless when Hamas steals it from them. But yeah, they got whatever. I mean, they just got people going in there, asking them questions or whatever. So I mean, how and when they did the polls, kind of like not really an issue. The issue is what the poll said. But yeah, these are, like I said. Oh, did you hear? Wait, the reason I interrupted. Did you guys hear what the Biden administration just did? They suspended artillery shells to Israel.
Say that again. They suspended what?
They suspended the shipment of artillery shells to Israel, even though they just approved and Biden signed in this multi-billion-dollar defense package.
Okay, hold on. Let me pull up my news site. Let me see if that's.
Hey, check it out on Fox News. It just came out.
That's nuts.
Yep.
Well, I mean, in order to launch an offensive into Rafah, I'm not exactly sure the type of assaults that they're launching and all that. As a matter of fact, Nadir, one of his complaints in here is that they're not using or what did he say? Let me find it here. Okay, hold on. Let's just go through this. Number 4. Israel needs to finish the job. There's no evidence that suggests war is the only solution. That's not true. There's all kinds of evidence to show that war is the only solution to eradicate those people who want nothing but to kill you. As a matter of fact, history is replete with that. I don't know why he would say that, but then again, I don't know why he would say a lot of things in this pamphlet. In fact, research has debunked it. No, of course, Prophet Google here, what motivates terrorists, and you will find 20 years research on terrorism. The comprehensive research has proven that providing a better way of life, offering jobs, removing injustice, and respecting human rights is the best way. Okay, a lot of loaded language there. Number 1, this is Barack Obama's jobs program for terrorists 2.0. It didn't work. I mean, when you think about the type of jobs that these people have before they get into terrorism, and a lot of these guys are doctors, engineers. The guys that blew up the Heathrow airport or drove their cars into the Heathrow airport, one was a physician, the other one was an engineer, for Pete's sake.
Well, not only that, I mean, this is totally foolish. It's in their charter. It's in Hamas's charter. The total destruction and exile and killing of Jews. It's totally 100% in their charter. This claim by Nadir is I mean, it's foolish. What do you mean? Years of research have shown they don't want to kill Jews. No, years of research and common sense say they are killing Jews. It's not that they want to; it's that they're actually doing it. They did it on October 7th. Well, that was perfectly justified to rape and burn babies alive, decapitate babies, because Somalian Indians did it in the 17th century. I mean, no, just I'm sorry. This man, we need to ship him out to Gaza because, yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah. I like the last line of his little screed here. If Israel invested the same amount of money which they spent on war to better the lives of the Gazans, there would be no Hamas. Okay, so turning over an entire region of your country to the Gazans.
Why doesn't Gaza spend the amount of money that they spend on the weapons on their own freaking people?
Right, exactly. Instead, they've siphoned billions of dollars off for the people that lead Gaza. Why don't the people of Gaza, the UN, ensure that the money gets to these Gazan people instead of going to the head honchos
and we're forgetting something else too. We're forgetting that Hamas killed like Fatah, they killed the PLO, they killed their opposition and made sure there were no elections. Like we can't forget that that's a part of what's going on.
And how much money does Nadir send to Palestine?
I don't know. He has a GoFundMe page, so we can get money to print these pamphlets, I guess, or pass. I don't know. This guy has a GoFundMe page.
And do you think he's?
There's only one moron who donated.
That moron did it for a very specific reason that we've discussed.
Just saying.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the next one. Let's go to the next one. My heart breaks for suffering Palestinian children, but evil must be confronted. Okay. Hamas
Does
is
your
not
heart
anymore.
not break for Israeli
That's
children?
what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry to interrupt, but does your heart not break for Israeli children that were killed and murdered in 10/7? Are you consistent?
No, he's not. If you want the immediate answer, of course he's not. But
he said in point number one, that was perfectly justified. Perfectly justified. And point number two, he said not only was it perfectly justified, but any other reasonable person would do the same thing. So he would also do the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't support Hamas. He doesn't support Hamas.
Watch what he says here. He says, Hamas is not any more evil than the Seminole or Comanche Indians who murdered innocent women and children settlers. Okay. I'm giving Nadir a pass on this one because he's a historical illiterate. Number one, the Seminole Indians, we had to build the British built a colony, the Georgia colony, to serve as a buffer between the Seminole Indians coming out of Florida, raiding South Carolinian plantations and stealing from the South Carolinians. So they offered free land to people to live in Georgia. They wouldn't allow slavery. This was 1732, somewhere around there. So the British had to create a colony to protect itself from the savagery of the Seminole Indians. Now, it's interesting that he also picks the Comanche Indians also. The Comanche Indians were so savage to the Spanish in settlers that they wouldn't even go out there. They would not even try to settle in that region. It's northwestern part of Texas and up. They wouldn't even go up there. As a matter of fact, after Mexico won its independence from Spain, they started inviting Americans into Texas under the idea that they would fight the Indians and keep the land safe for Mexico. That's how savage these Comanche were, and how savage these Seminole were. And what does he say? Hamas is not even more evil than the Seminole and Comanche Indians. Okay, that's kind of a high standard to set for evil. I get it, but they are pretty doggone close, Nadir. They are savage. barbaric pieces of crap. Goes on to say Israel's a colonial power. Here we go again, which seeks to build and expand a Jewish majority state. No, they already have a Jewish majority state. What you want is to tear that down by allowing these people who have no claim. As a matter of fact, the Palestinians that do have citizenship in Israel have more rights than any other Arab on the planet, or any other Muslim in Muslim majority countries on the planet. Just saying. And you want that cart turned over because you have some type of beef with the Jews. Oh, and then it's a Jewish hatred is all it is. The evil that Israel chooses a genocide. Here we go. Genocidal war. There we go. Genocidal war to wipe out Hamas. Now, do I have a couple things here. I don't know if I want to talk about them all. Did the human beings cannot be justified? Nadir is trying to justify this. Again, what is a colonial power again? What a non-Jewish majority, and we talked about what that would look like. And again, genocidal war. Here's genocide. The deliberate killing of large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. And so what I want to do is I want to show Nadir a population growth of the Arabs, the Palestinians in Israel from the time Israel was established. Here's the number of people of Palestinian descent living in Israel, the Gaza and the West Bank since 1948. If the Jews are trying to commit genocide against them, they are doing a very, very poor job of that. As a matter of fact, I would say they were doing a terrible job of that.
Well, the green line was the Muslims, right? The blue line was the Jews.
No, the blue line is the Muslims.
No, go back.
Oh, no, it is the Jews. I'm sorry. You're right, Connie.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
But look, I mean, it's on an incline just as well.
Yeah, you still have a
Yes,
same type of rate of increase of Jews along with Muslims. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was pointing the wrong line. But you still have.
And look at the Christians. Look how low that is.
Yeah, pretty flat. But hey, them pagans, look at they're
right. Yeah, they're even above us. You would think that Christians, you would think that we would be going, wow, 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 wow. But look who's crying. The Muslims who are so much close to the blue line of the Jews.
These Jews, they just suck at genocide.
It's just ridiculous. You know, we know what Satan wants through Islam. And it ain't gonna do it because God's people are on this earth and good people are on this earth. Thank you.
All right. What were you gonna say, Red?
I was just saying the Jews really suck at genocide, man.
I know they need to get their act together. I mean, if you're gonna kill off an entire people and you let them grow exponentially by the millions, what's wrong with you? My goodness. Okay. Number 6, Hamas hide behind women and children, place their headquarters in a hospital. Hamas hide. Is that a sentence? Hamas hide. It's supposed to be Hamas hides behind. Okay, so you should have had somebody check this. Okay, Hamas hides.
Yeah, he needs to be educated, doesn't he? He needs to be educated.
That would help. Places and places their headquarters in a hospital. Okay. This is a claim oft repeated, which has no evidence to support it. Rather, experts point out it would be impossible to even prove such a thing. Oh, really? So, okay.
Israel's already proved.
Okay, where are the terror tunnels and caches of weapons kept? Let's see here. We got explosive in school. Mm-hmm. These are schools, stored in Gazan schools. Oh, here's a UN building. And you have a rocket launcher right next to the UN. Then you have more weapons in schools that the IDF is saying. You got hand grenades here. More hand grenades, I guess. Let's see. And then the Al-Shifa Hospital. Who can forget this video footage of finding all these weapons in a flipping hospital? And then mosque. They're storing weapons in mosques. I wonder how many women and children. Let's see, how many women and children go to school? I don't know, a bunch of children, I guess. I guess that's proven there. How many women and children work in the hospital or go to the hospital? I'd say quite a bit, probably. So yeah, you're hiding behind them. And then the mosque, women and children, they go to the mosque too, I guess. And look at all these weapons and bombs we find in these mosques. Let's see here. We had weaponry lab inside of a mosque. This is inside of a mosque. Then you have UNRWA finds tunnel underneath the Gazan school. UNRWA found the tunnel, not the Jews. UNRWA found a tunnel underneath a Gazan school. What's a tunnel doing underneath a Gazan school, pray tell? And here's one under a hospital in Gaza. Here's another tunnel. How about fortified tunnels under the Shifa hospital? Boy, that's popular. And then you have these tunnels. You have Hamas tunnels under the UNRWA headquarters, and they're piping electricity and internet into these Hamas tunnels. This is crazy. To say that, to try to say that there's no proof of it, dude, we got pictures of it.
And videos.
All kinds of videos.
Live videos that they're doing. Yeah.
Here's the
I
thing.
mean, it's just his propaganda, you
That's
know.
exactly what this is. It's nothing but propaganda.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. While Hamas hides in tunnels, their civilian population are getting murdered on the surface. Why didn't they build any air raid shelters for their own people, like the Israelis did? Why didn't they develop any infrastructure to protect their civilian population? They didn't. They actually said, we are not interested in governing. Just to kill. That's all this is.
Well, that when you teach your children, when you teach for generations a bitter hatred for Jews, when you teach for generations this desire to kill Jews, this is what you get. This is exactly. I mean, this is the end. This is the result of all that hatred. And you want us to feel sorry for these people? And that one slide said, we believe, our hearts bleed for these children, these women and children. My God, whose heart doesn't?
Right.
It would all stop. 3 words: free the hostages. That's all you got. Free the hostages, and it all stops. But they won't. I'm sorry, Darcy. Who's talking?
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
Yeah, I've been watching the Sharia videos, learning about Sharia.
Right.
And somebody needs to tell Darcy they're told not to use reason and thinking, critical thinking. So what I see is that they just use their emotions that they're taught, which is what you're saying, hate.
Yeah, so they don't think at all. They just react.
Yeah, for Allah.
Well, this is what you're taught your whole life, from the time that you're a little child to the time that you're an adult. How do you think that they're going to act when they're adult? Do you think that they're going to second guess what has been ingrained into them since the time that they could barely walk? It's. I mean, when we went into Germany at the conclusion of World War II, the goal was the denazification, was to, get rid of this idea that Germany has this Aryan race and the world is going to bow down to them. All that had to stop, and it took years to eradicate that. But then again, how do you go? And this is the question that I'm sure Isa struggles with. How do you fix this level amount of hatred from a people who this has been bred into them since the time that they can walk and talk? How does that stop? And I don't know what the answer is either. Well, I do know what the answer is, but nobody wants to talk about going in there and getting people like Steve Mashney to go in there and share the gospel with them. That's the only way to get that to stop.
Didn't we hear that the Uyghurs are being sent to some kind of camp to unlearn what they're learning? Now, I'm not saying that the commies are any better, okay? But I do think
the Uyghurs in China.
Yeah, they're sent to these deprogramming camps. You know what? When I'm told to feel sorry for Uyghurs, I don't. I take a step back and let them have at it. But I think that's what's needed is deprogramming.
And you're right. That's it. We call it the denazification, the de-Hamasization. I don't know what you would call it. Deprogramming. Yeah, you could say that too. Okay, let's go to the next one. Next slide, number 7. Jews are also indigenous and have a right to the land. Let's see. Before there was a Jewish state, there was an Islamic state. No, it was called the Ottoman Empire. Okay, you're correct. Nobody's hiding it from you. The only thing that they're really hiding, and I don't even want to deal with this slide because it's stupid. But basically, what he said that the historians call the Golden Age of Judaism. The Golden Age of Judaism. If you ever want to read about the Golden Age of Judaism, go ahead and read this book, Martin Gilbert's In Ishmael's House. It'll tell you how well the Jews were treated under the Muslims. It'll tell you
just read the letter. Just read the letter from Maimonides to the Yemens.
Oh yeah.
This is never was there a nation that wanted to kill, that hated us and kill us as much as these Arabs. He actually says that. Yeah. They debase us. They pass laws against us, all for their madman profit.
I was trying to think of who that was today, but thank you. What was his name? Maimonides?
Maimonides' letter to the Yemen. You can go Google it right now and pull it up.
Why don't you do that? Oh, you're on the road. That's right. Maimonides' letter to Yemen, you said it was? I'll find it. Yeah, I was trying to think what that was today. I didn't even know how to do a search, but I remember hearing about that. And so I think it was on Jai's show that I heard that from. But this golden age, this idea of a golden age in Judaism is a bunch of bunk. And then he says in 1922, let's go down here. In 1922, the Islamic State collapsed, and the Zionists saw this as an opportunity to take advantage of the situation and create a RAT, a racist apartheid terrorist state. Notice it says rat. And I came up with another one.
Comparing Jews to vermin?
Yeah,
where have we heard that before?
That's exactly what he's doing. I was thinking of coming up with something to a similar Hamas Islamic territory, and that would tell you exactly what they are. But I didn't want to create an acronym that was foul.
There's one thing I want to add to that. If he said, hey, this is a complex, nuanced situation, that there are a lot of issues on both sides, I think you could get a lot more weight and fairness in that argument. But it's so unfair because I think of the country of Pakistan that in 1971 killed 3 million Bengalis. There were Eastern Pakistanis then. No one talks about that. Who's mourning for these Pakistanis? That was genocide. They intentionally wanted to kill. They had very little resources, but they were able, this is 1971 in a third world country. So if Israel really wanted to wipe out all of the Palestinians, they have the capability to do that. They don't want to do that. There are Arab Israelis. You can say it's complex, it's difficult, it's nuanced. That's a fair position of engaging this, but this it's a completely unfair, unfounded position. And it's really, I don't know how else to put it. It's just very problematic.
Well, nobody wants to talk about the hundreds of thousands of Syrians that have been killed in Syria's civil war and the untold amount of suffering that's going on there. Why? Because it's Muslim on Muslim. Nobody wants to talk about the Yemenis, who are millions of them are starving to death. Hundreds of thousands have been killed in that little dust up. No. The only thing that they want to focus on is them Jews. Them Jews. We got to stop them Jews. We killing each other, that's fine. But them Jews, see, this is just the insanity of it all. How can you sit here, and like you said, you can go to Pakistan, you can go anywhere, and they're doing it to each other. But when the Jews do it, oh my gosh, it's like World War III is coming. Here we go. We got to stop them Jews. Why don't you get your own house in order, people, and find some type of way to reconcile? these hateful and violent passages that you find all over your Quran, you find all over your Hadith, you find all over the... Why don't you figure out a way to do that before you start pointing a finger at everybody else for your problems? Your prophet was a murdering, genocidal, ethnic cleansing piece of garbage. That's exactly what he did, and you're just following his sunnah. I get it. But don't sit here and blame them Jews for your violent behavior. Look at this one. This one is really golden. Israel has always taken extreme measures to prevent civilian casualties. This is a myth. No, it's not. This is the absolute God's awful truth. Israel has gone through takes more steps to prevent the type of casualties that Hamas wants than any other army in the history of the world, period. I have an article here from the people at West Point. You know West Point, the military institute for the United States, where they actually plan all these things and develop tactics and teach them to our lieutenants. So when they come out, they can be great warriors. Yeah, that place says what Israel is doing now, as far as urban warfare is concerned, is going to be studied and applied for years. Why? Because number one, of its effectiveness and the minimal amount of casualties to its own soldiers, number one, but number two, the minimal amount of casualties to a densely populated, the most densely populated, one of the most densely, I don't know if it is the most densely or it's one of the most densely populated places on the entire flippin' planet. This is a myth. No, you're an idiot. That's what you are. There is no evidence to support this claim. BS, there's all kinds of evidence to it. President Biden has accused Israel of indiscriminate bombing. President Biden doesn't know what day of the week it is. Who cares what that moron says? U.S. intelligence confirmed that 43% of the bombs, now this is classic. 43% of the bombs are unguided dumb bombs.
Wait. Did Nadir just quote Genocide Joe?
Yeah, he did.
Quoted Genocide Joe.
Genocide Joe. There you go. Okay, look at it. All right. Dumb bombs. Unguided. Where is it? Unguided dumb bombs. Okay. The only dumb thing here is your statement. All right. Number one, what is a dumb bomb? Well, a dumb bomb is, I don't know, according to Nadir, a hand grenade.
It's
It's
a bomb dropped by a dummy.
I don't know if you can say it, but what he's talking about is Israel not spending, $50,000 on each precision guided munition it fires into the Gaza Strip. Artillery shells, mortar shells can be considered unguided dumb bombs. However,
Scud missile.
However, if you have a good mortarman, I mean, the precision that these guys, if you ever watch these guys that fire artillery or mortar shells for the United States Army, these guys are good. And to say that they are firing indiscriminately or unguided dumb, you're an idiot. You really are. You have no idea what you're talking about as far as what warfare is concerned. And to say that 43% of the bombs are unguided dumb bombs, well, according to that stat, and I didn't even bother to look it up because Nadir is an idiot. That would mean that 57% of everything fired is a precision guided munition, meaning it costs thousands of dollars to fire that thing. And that just tells you how careful they're being when they do fire these munitions into buildings. Instead of dropping a munition on top of a building, what you're doing is you're firing it into a window and targeting a specific part of that building. The Court of Justice has concluded that Israel has engaged in possible genocide. This is a lie. This is a lie. And I'm going to show you why this is a lie. Give me just a second here to bring this up. Let me bring this up. Here we are. Present. Here we go. I just happened to run across this clip this week. And after reading that, I'm like, oh, well, this makes all the sense in the world.
Also ruled that Israel is plausibly committing genocide.
The world's highest court placed Israel on trial for alleged genocide, declaring it to be a plausible case.
So that's what they think. Now let's listen to the actual president, or the then president of the court.
You quite clearly decided that there was a plausible case.
It did not decide, and this is something where I'm correcting what's often said in the media, it didn't decide that the claim of genocide was plausible.
Okay, so here you have the president of the court says you're full of crap, Nadir. So how many errors are you going to take out of your little pamphlet when you send it off to these little Jew-hating, anti-Semitic pigs that you rally with? I'd be really interested to see an edited version of this after we get done fixing all of your claims here.
Nadir's too busy lying through his teeth. He's not going to edit anything.
I agree. I that's just hopeful thinking, but I agree. He's not gonna change a thing here.
No, he's gonna definitely bring the wrath of God upon himself, just like DDAT did.
Who? Oh, Ahmed Didat.
Yes.
Yeah, Ahmed Didat. Yeah, where he had like a stroke right before he died or something like that.
He had a stroke that disabled him for 10 years.
Yeah.
He was an invalid for 10 years.
Yeah.
Before he finally died.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing that. Okay, let's see here. Israel does not target innocent most of the times, but they just show very little concern for innocent people around the way they guess might be a target. What the heck are you talking about? What does that mean? Israel does not target innocent civilians. Hold on, let me get my laser up here. Israel does not target innocent civilians most of the time. Okay, but they just show very little concern for innocent people around what they guess might be a target. Now, this is again where you're just an idiot. You have no idea how much planning goes into an operation. You have no idea how much consideration is given to what could result in collateral damage. You're just an idiot, period. And to say then the results of this war in the world's most densely populated region. Is Gaza the most densely populated place on the world? If I remember right, I heard that someplace. I'm willing to be wrong on that, but can somebody fact check me on that? Maybe in chat. I'd like to know that. Okay, here is the big one. This is the one that I think is most hilarious and shows why Nadir is a historical illiterate. Look what Nadir and the thing is that I will admit that when I was in college, I took college. I wasn't really ever in college per se, which is kind of weird for a teacher, I know. But I took college classes at night when I was in the Army. And to glean this from your American history classes even at the college level, you still wouldn't catch on to this. But being a history teacher, an American history teacher specifically, I caught this immediately. This is why he's an idiot. So let's read number 9 here. History has already rendered its verdict. Israel. American Indians conducted the same Hamas attacks against innocent settlers, yet in spite of this fact, Florida Department of State's article, The Seminoles, concludes the British often incited Seminoles against American settlers. Now, watch what he says here. Now apply that same logic to our current conflict. Pay attention here. Israel often incited Hamas against its civilians, Jewish settlers. Okay, so look what he's saying here. He's saying that the Israeli government is inciting Hamas to attack its own people, just as the British incited the Seminoles to attack its own people, the settlers. Are you guys coming away with the same thing here? Now look at what it says. If the British are to blame for seminal attacks against innocent civilians by inciting them, then Israel's to blame for Hamas attacks against civilians by inciting them. Okay. Did you catch what's wrong with this, Ed? Did you catch what's wrong with this?
Well, yeah. To me, it just seems like he's comparing apples to watermelons.
Well, that's exactly what he's doing, folks. The British, he's right. The British incited Indians to attack American settlers. This is true. But this was the cause of the War of 1812. When was our country established?
Around 1812?
No.
1776.
Okay, 1776, the Declaration of Independence. We become an independent country with the Treaty of Paris in 1783. We're our own country. British is no longer in charge of us.
Right.
So look what he's saying. The British incited the Indians to attack Americans, their own people. They weren't their own people, you moron. He's right. They did because the British told them, they said, when those settlers come out here, they're going to take your land. You better do something about it. So the Indians are like, oh, yeah, we better go do that. So they were right.
Yeah,
but this isn't the same as the Israelis encouraging Hamas to attack their own people. You are a moron. You are a historical illiterate, Nadir.
Yep.
Well,
and the war in 1812, wasn't that our first war against the Muslims?
No, the Barbary Pirate Wars. The Barbary Pirate Wars were under Jefferson. That was 1802 to 1806 or somewhere around there. I can't remember the exact dates. But everybody was ganging up on Americans at that time. It wasn't just, it was the French were coming after us, the British were coming after us, and then the Barbary pirates are demanding more jizya from our government. And Jefferson's like, the heck with you, I ain't paying you all that money. And then he sends what little navy we had to Tripoli and conquered them.
Well, here's the thing. What he's saying in this, I believe, it's just that it's a racist view because he sees all white people as the same. So therefore, what he says that the British encouraged the Sentinel Indians to attack other white people. That's probably what he's saying. Because I'm not saying he's a racist.
No, that's not what he's saying. Because I read, as a matter of fact, I sent him a message yesterday asking him to clarify this.
Oh, okay.
And so here's what I sent him. Let's see here. I asked him. Here's what I asked him. I say I have a question about point number 9 on your pamphlet. Are you saying that that Israel encourages Hamas to kill its own citizens? I'm not understanding the word often as it is used. How exactly did Israel incite Hamas to attack its own citizens? You are saying you incited people to attack your own civilians. What the heck? But it is not the British's intention that they would retaliate in that way. But that was due to their naiveness. Oppressors do not. I don't even know maybe has a substance abuse problem. That doesn't even make sense. But the argument you must beat is the historical verdict. The Indian Hamas attack is blamed on the colonial powers who took their land. Okay, so anyway, I did try to get a clarification from him. And
can I engage this colonial argument? I think it's a really bad argument because if we're going to argue that the Jewish people were colonialists, so were Muslims. They were imperialists and colonialists too. You can say Christians were imperialists and colonialists. That's fine, but you have to be consistent. You can't say the expansion of Islam was just kumbaya and love. Maybe in some parts of the world it was, but if you're going to try to engage that, it's not a fair engagement. So if you're going to say, well, the Palestinians were the indigenous people there, and I'm like, that's fine. That's okay with me. You have to also be honest that how did Islam get spread there? It was by imperialism and colonialism. So if you want to say that the Jewish project is an imperialist colonialist project, so was the Muslim one. The Ottoman Empire was also an imperialist colonialist project as well. So we have to be fair and consistent.
No, they're not going to be. The only people, them Jews, we already know that they're not going to be fair and consistent for several reasons. Number one, the UN is giving them cover. Number two, you have kids impressionable kids, and this is the whole reason why we're doing this show, is that Nadir is giving impressionable kids this pamphlet. And he's trying to pass himself as some type of pseudo-intellectual, where, number one, he needs an editor to help him out with some of the way he's using sentences. But more importantly, they're not going to second guess the way that things are worded in here. I mean, if you look at, solid research has said, they have debunked all these things. Well, if you're 19, 20-year-old, you're not going to know that this person would be intentionally misleading you. But the fact of the matter is he is misleading them. And you're spot on with that comparison, Isa, is with the colonialization of Islam itself. If you look at a majority of these countries that were taken over by forceful, violent means, is by Muslims, forcibly converted to Islam. And if they were not forcibly converted, what were they? They were made to be dhimmis. If they were Christians and Jews, if there was anything else, they were killed. Look what they did to the Hindus, for God's sake. When they went into the Hindu Kush, I mean, it was just, as a matter of fact, many of the commanders, I've seen hadith where many of the commanders were, they were distraught of the number of hundreds of thousands of people that they were having to kill. Why? Because they can't give them the opportunity to convert. They have to kill them. Or to be a dhimmi. I'm sorry. They give them the opportunity to convert, but they don't. So what do? They kill them. So this whole thing, this whole pamphlet, is one big lie. And after my engagement with him last week in that debate, you could see how deceitful this man is. And so when our brother Chris Claus, sends me a message, because I'd never have him on my show, I'm never even going to talk to him, or Adam Seeker says we can't even use his name. I can't even use his name on my channel. I can see why. I can most certainly see why. Okay. I don't have anything else, folks. Does anybody have anything that they want to add to this? Let me see if I had anything.
I have something to add. I'm sorry that I've been talking so much. I apologize.
No, that's right. Go ahead.
I think if you're asking for like a two-state solution, you're asking for peace in the Middle East, I think those are good things to ask for. Whether it's tenable or not, that's not the point. The point is, if you're asking for that and you're saying, hey, I want Israelis to have a home, I want Palestinians to have a home, I think that's a great thing to call for, to ask for. But if you're just saying, hey, Jewish people, you need to get out, and this all belongs to Palestinian people, that's just a really, I don't know, I think it's a very twisted way of looking at it. I don't think you really care about peace in the Middle East. I don't really think you care about these people or really want rights for them. If you really wanted rights for Palestinians, you'd be like, wow, I need to negotiate with Israel. Israel's in power now. I'm not going to boycott, divest, and sanction them, because that's not going to help the cause of the Palestinian people. And I'm going to work on saying, hey, let's get an establishment governance for the Palestinian people that's more secular and is, allows for Palestinians to have citizenship and get passports and all of this kind of stuff. That's what you should be striving for, not boycotting Israel. Boycotting Israel is going to get you nothing and nowhere, and you're not supporting Palestinians. So I don't understand it.
Okay, how do you envision a two-state solution?
Well,
how do you?
Sure.
Where are the borders, boundaries? What type of security guarantees?
And that's a good question. And it's a very difficult thing. But I mean, I think even just promoting that kind of narrative is important. But what I would say is, you would probably have to remove the Israeli settlers. You would say, well, Gaza and West Bank would be considered.
Okay, so let's talk about the West Bank and Gaza just for
Gaza, yeah,
a hot little minute here. Gaza belonged to Egypt after the war for Israeli independence. Are you aware of that? It was in Egypt, and then the '67 war. Mm-hmm. Were you aware of that? Okay, they don't want it back. The West Bank was occupied by Jordan without the permission of the UN in 1948. They just went in and took it. and Israel couldn't. The Jews couldn't do anything about it. They just went in and took it. And then, this is where I'm saying they have no right to the West Bank, to include the people that are living there now, the Palestinian people. The Jordanese who occupied it right after 1948. So this was actually a province of Jordan. This is why they call it the West Bank, because it's on the west side of the Jordan River from the country of Jordan. In 1967, the Israelis practically begged Jordanese to stay out of that war. They said, if you come into the war, we're going to destroy you in place. We've already destroyed the Egyptian army. They're lying to you. They have not made great gains. The Syrian army is lying to you also. They have not made the gains that they're claiming. We're going to do the same thing to you that we've already done to these two other armies. Stay out of the war. And they still came from the West Bank. So when an army, a country attacks you from a region of their country and you lose, the country that was attacked, they are completely entitled to that region that they captured during the war. They're completely, according to the laws of warfare, that is their land. The West Bank legally belongs to the Israelis. Why? Because the Jordanese, number one, were never granted the land. They just took it. But number two, when they attacked the Israelis in the 67 war from that land, and it was taken from them. The Israelis took it from them, and it belongs to the Israelis. So any claim to that land, they don't have any. So I don't know what two-state solution that anybody is talking about.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's this thing called Hudna in Islam, based on the Battle of Hudaybiyah, way back in, they don't honor any peace treaties or any land for peace deals. Right. And they haven't with India or Pakistan, and they haven't with, they got 57 countries now. How do you think they got that? Through lying. You can't trust, you got to look at their ideology and what they're taught and not wish for something that they won't honor. You're
absolutely right. How do you make a deal? I mean, it's like making a deal with the devil.
Well,
they're never going to hold up to their end of the bargain, regardless of what type of deal that you make with them.
The Hudna is not supposed to last longer than 10 years, and they're supposed to break it as soon as they're rearmed or regrouped. So
right, it's used when you are in a period of weakness, like the Gazanians are right now.
Yes.
And that it is to be immediately broken just as soon as you have gained enough strength to fight that.
Exactly.
And why make a ceasefire? The only reason that motivation that Israel has right now to call a ceasefire, a temporary ceasefire with the Hamas holds, is to get their hostages back. That's the only thing that they have. That's the only card the Hamas holds have right now.
Are they giving them back?
No, they still have 133, I think, hostages.
Number one, I think a lot of them are either dead or enslaved.
Well, many of them are. Many of them are.
Yeah. And that's it.
So what I think is that's why we need a secular governance. It can't be a religious governance. It needs to be a secular governance, and that's
not going to happen.
An important thing. I'm just saying that is a path forward. I understand that there's skepticism to it, but I'm saying this is a potential path forward, and I think that needs to be considered. And I understand the point of what you said, but I think you make compromises and concessions for peace. And a lot of Jewish people believe in that. I think there are a lot of Palestinian people who believe in that. And I think if we could negotiate that and enforce a peace, you probably would need a third party to, if there's any violation of this treaty. I understand the concerns that if the treaty gets violated, there needs to be ramifications if that occurs. So there would be a third party that would be
who's going to enforce them? Who's going to enforce them? Let me ask you this. Who is going to hold these Hamas holds accountable for what they did on October 7th?
Well, it would be an agreed third party. It would be an agreed group that both the Israelis and Palestinians agree upon and say, we agree on this person. And I think the Palestinians would have to agree with it too, because they want to have a home, and I think that that's just the way that it would work.
No, they don't. They want to kill Jews, is what they want.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care.
This isn't about peace. Their ideology is about conquering the land. If you read it, Allah tells them the world is theirs. You know, the most holiest form of jihad is to die while killing. You know.
Well, whoever believes, this is the 21st century, so if people believe in that, you're not going to survive with that ideology.
All right.
You got to know your enemy.
It is. I agree. It is the 21st century, but we just saw a pamphlet written by a Muslim,
by a 7th century cult leader.
Okay, that believes in since the Seminole Indians and the Comanche Indians, some of the most brutal Indian tribes in the Americas, what they did was, it's no different what they did. It's got, they had their land taken away, and look what they did.
That makes it okay.
The Hamas wolves did it too. So again, let people decide whether or not they think that Nadir supports Hamas. I could care less. As far as I'm concerned, and based on what he wrote in that pamphlet, he is providing them all kinds of support, whether it's excuses for what they did or inspiring people to continue for them to continue to fight Jews. It doesn't matter to me. I think that he's supporting them, and he's demonstrated that through his pamphlet. Okay, folks, does anybody have anything they want to add before we cut out of here and call it a day? I see Connie is.
Well, I just wanted to say on behalf of the show, after reviewing this, Nadir does not support Hamas. Nadir just supports what Hamas did. And I think that we can make that distinction without a difference in this situation, is because it doesn't matter if it was Hamas per se. It could have been Fatah, it could have been PLO, it could have been Islamic Jihad. He just supports whatever means that these monsters and murderers did. Do you see what I'm saying? So he doesn't support. He doesn't put a name to the organization. He just supports what they did, and that is killing and raping women and children. And that's all I have to say.
I would choose the cow.
All right.
And here you go. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all of the coast of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense, and ye recompense me swiftly and speedily? Will I return your recompense upon your own head?
Bam. Thank you for that, Ed. That's Revelation, am I correct?
No, sir, that's Joel.
Oh, is that Joel? Holy crap.
Yeah.
That sounds very apropos. Okay, here we go, folks. Cold close.
Advanced student and specialist, that the standard narrative has holes. That's what
that the Muslims were rioting against one another. And as much as we don't want to face the fact, the Muslims were lying sometimes. They were fabricating, they were embellishing, and that might be hard to accept, but that is a reality.